Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're going to take a look at the Magicka Warden PvP build. I do have a written guide on my website where I showcase buffed, unbuffed character screenshots, gear, gameplay, combos, everything is there. Link in the description below. This build is optimized for battlegrounds, so I deactivated all champion points. Keep that in mind. Those are the stats, the unbuffed stats you will get in the battlegrounds, and the character screenshot there is with all buffs active, so necropotent, minor toughness, etc, etc. In the first part of the video we want to quickly go over the base stats, and then we're gonna check out some combos and how you should heal with this build, and in the end I will quickly showcase you the outfit. Now, the gameplay you've seen before, I have the full video as well on my YouTube, link in the description below as well. Now, you want to make sure to have the Atronach Mundus Stone, very important to get that extra magic recovery. Buff food wise, I highly recommend Clockwork Citrus Filet. Now it's quite expensive, so you could run Witchmother's Potent Brew. However, I really recommend getting this, it gives you a little bit more stats, very important. Now keep in mind, I don't have full Undaunted yet, so you would have a little bit more max stem, health and Magicka. I don't have like Undaunted level 9. Because we're running a 5-on-1 setup, so I would get 6 instead of 3%. So you might get a little bit more stats than I have here. Not a huge difference. If you have max Undaunted. Potions, you want to run tri-set pots. They're really good. They give you max stem, max Magicka, max health. When you drop low on health, you can pop a potion just to bring you out of execute range, etc. It's really, really good. How to craft them, it's also on my website with ingredients. Please, one of the most important passives, don't forget medicinal use. You need to have this is mandatory. You can also find all the passives on my website that you need. Racial, so there is a few good choices. You can be a High Elf, Argonian, Breton or Dark Elf. Those are probably the best choices you have. Argonian being the easiest with resource management. I do like High Elf because it gives me 4% frost damage, 10% max Magicka, and 9% Magicka recovery. It always also gives flame and shock damage, which is nice. When we look at the gear, Shackle and Necro are the main parts. Shackle is just nice. It's like one of the best sets in Battlegrounds in my opinion, because you get max Magicka and max stamina, Magicka recovery, stamina recovery, which is pretty cool, as you can see. We're never gonna really run out of Magicka nor stamina, because we have 12k and like almost 900 recovery, which is more than enough. We do not block that often with this build. Second set, Necropotence. So while you have a pet active, your max Magicka is increased by 3.15k. Use the Bull Natch, this counts as a pet, that's why we have so much max Magicka. You could always invest more into health if you really want to. Just keep in mind, with minor toughness we have 23k. If you just want 30k max Magicka, you will get a lot more health, but you will lose damage, and it's not necessary. All impenetrable, and again, 1 heavy, 1 medium, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 light. Price that, impen, yeah. Jewelry, I have 2 protective with spell damage, Shackle Breaker. You kinda want the protective because their extra resistances are nice. And 1 infused Magicka recovery. Now that's the sweet spot. I tried without infused Magicka recovery. The sustain is a little bit tough, so you want to make sure to get the infused Magicka recovery. Great with a glyph. Important. For weapons, so here is where it gets interesting. You have 2 options, okay? So this here would basically be the optimal setup, where you have Asylum Perfected Ice Stuff infused with an Absorb Magic Enchant. Now what does this one do? So every second cast of Force Shock will always apply the Burning, Concussion and Chill status effect. Every second time you cast Force Pulse or Crushing Shock, you apply Burning, which is a fire damage over time effect on the enemy, Concussion, which deals damage and you do 8% more damage to the enemy for 4 seconds, and Chilled, which reduces the enemy's damage by 15%. Very nice. Obviously on top of Force Pulse, which again has 3 different damage ticks. And you also have the Absorb Magic enchant, which will proc very often just to give you better sustain. And it also deals nice damage. Back bar, Black Rose Restoration Stuff, infused weapon damage enchant. Now this here is very nice. Steadfast Ward applies Major Vitality to your target for 3 seconds, increasing the healing taken on your target by 30%. So we have Ward Ally, which goes to you and a friendly teammate. Both of them will get the buff. It's a lot of extra healing, and this is your main shield. You only really need this shield. But yeah, there's also some flexible spots on the skill setups, which we'll go into later. Now, this build also works with an imperfect Asylum stuff. However, I really recommend getting a perfect one. Black Rose Restoration stuff, it doesn't matter whether you have a perfect or imperfect one. The only difference is the imperfect one doesn't have a Magicka recovery bonus, which it doesn't really matter, okay? The two-piece bonus is the same. But this year, try to get the perfect one. The second option you have, if you don't have any of those, is you can run 2 Shackle Breaker weapons. And then you have space for another monster set if you want to. Because remember, staves, 2-handed weapons count as 2 bonus. So you could run 3 Shackle Breaker and then Shackle Breaker Frost and the Shackle Breaker Restoration stuff. Then you have space for a monster set. If you don't have those. But I highly recommend it. Asylum stuff is so freaking strong in battlegrounds. If you want to play on the Champion Points campaign, I have a max CP 300 and 600 CP set up on my website. Check it out there. Passives are also listed all on my site. There's a few one that you really don't want to forget. Hint, hint. It's all there. You can hover over the URL or the blue link and the tooltip will pop up. Pretty cool feature. Now, skills, I will quickly go through them and then explain why I chose this setup. You can basically have 2 different skill setups. The Unstable Wall of Frost. This snare, it deals damage, it snares the enemy, and chilled enemies become frozen and are immobilized for 4 seconds. Basically, chilled we get from the Asylum, so it's a status effect. When it procs, they get rooted. On top of that, when the effect ends, the barrier also explodes, so it's another little bit more damage. Deep Fissure, this is your main damage ability, it hits so hard. You need to make sure to weave this a lot, basically on cooldown. It also applies Major Breach, reducing the spell resistance from the enemy. Force Pulse and Asylum stuff work together really well. So you have 3 ticks from Force Pulse, Flame, Frost and Shock. Asylum, another 3 ticks. Burning, Concussion, Chilled, Infused, Absorb Magic, another tick, and then a light attack. So that's 8 hits at the same time, more or less. And obviously, if you combine it with Deep Fissure, it's 9 hits at the same time. Then you have this dot running as well, so it's just so much damage, incoming damage. Or outgoing damage, whatever you want to call it. So Burning applies a small fire damage or time effect on the enemy. Concussion makes you deal 8% more damage on the enemy, and Chilled applies minor maim, I think, so reducing the enemy's damage by 15%. Very, very nice. Now, this Patch Infection, the strong damage over time effect, and when you apply the second time, it boosts the damage by 50%. Bird of Prey. This is only passively slotted, because while slotted gain minor berserk, increasing damage on by 8%. We don't use this in combat. What I like to use this in battlegrounds is when I need to go somewhere fast, I can just keep the speed buff up here. Because we have so good sustain, it's not really an issue. Pretty cool. Or when you need to like run after an enemy that runs away. Northern Storm, 8% more max Magicka. When you activate it, you and your allies also gain major protection. Blue Betty activates Necro, gives you a ton of sustain, gives you major sorcery, gives you spell damage. When the Netch is summoned, it removes 1 negative effect from you. Costs nothing. So technically, if you spam this, you can get rid of negative effects on you very fast. Crystallized Slap. When an enemy hits you, You regain Magicka. You don't get damage from ranged attacks mostly. And it shoots a crystal or a frost crystal at the enemy, dealing damage. And this doesn't really have a range limit, so if somebody snipes you from, I don't know, 50 meters away or whatever, it will still go to the enemy all the way. Pretty cool. Ward Ally in combination with Black Rose stuff, very strong. Gives you 30% more healing. And the shield, obviously. So the shield strength is increased by up to 300% depending on like how low your health is. Living Trellis, heal over time effect. When the vine expires, they heal the target for 4k. Now keep in mind, I can spam this to get the burst heal at the end instantly. And the 30% from the Black Rose stuff are not here yet, so it's something like 5k, maybe 5.5k. It's a very strong burst heal. So in tough situations you can use the ward, rallies and so on, and it's really tough to die. Ice Fortress gives you major resolve, major ward, and also minor protection, so you get like 8% more damage mitigation. Lights Champion, this is your defensive ultimate, which I mostly use. It doesn't cost a lot, it gives a lot of healing per second, and it also gives like major force and major protection. 30% damage mitigation and a little bit more crit damage. But the damage mitigation is the most important part. Now, a lot of you probably say, why don't you use Permafrost or Shimmering Shield? Use it. If you like it more, use it. I just like the damage component here more. And I like the extra max Magicka, because I'm mostly using Lights Champion. I'm only using the Northern Storm if the group is very close together and there's a lot of healing, so I know I'm not gonna die. And then there's just more AoE damage. But most of the times I use this. Just the healing you get from this is so freaking strong. Especially with the Black Rose stuff. Another important passive to mention. So when you do a heavy attack, you can gain Major Mending, increasing your healing by another 25% for 3 seconds. That's another very cool feature that you should not forget. The rest of stuff. Now, if you have issues with staying alive, I recommend slotting a Harness Magicka here instead of Fetcher Infection. However, if you learn to keep up buffs, it's not really an issue, trust me. Now, what kind of combos are healing? First off, let's check out. Never let your buffs drop off. Number one reason why people die is because they forget to rebuff or they're positioned wrong. Because a lot of people buff up at the start and then they never do rebuff. Then they have no healing, less resistances, and then you die. The Blue Betty, Ice Fortress, 27 seconds, 24 seconds. Very easy to keep up, right? Living Trellis, 10 seconds. Crystallized Slab, 6 seconds. If you have a few ranged enemies, you can just keep this up. They will barely do damage to you. Basically damage immune almost. Living Trellis needs to be kept up you need to keep this up. Your major heal. Another thing I want to point out, Animal Companion, Bond with Nature. So every time you activate like Deep Fissure, Fetcher, or like basically when they die, right? When they are used up, gives you a small heal. It's also nice. The trick is if you go full defensive, you obviously want to keep up the long time buffs. Use Crystallized Slab just to gain protection from ranged attacks. Black Rose, Living Trellis. Black Rose, Living Trellis. Just to regain the shield and gain the burst heal from the Living Trellis. You can save yourself a lot. And if it's not enough, pop the rest of ulti, and once you pop the rest of ulti, you can go full offensive again, because it heals you for so much. In case you drop low, you can also always pop the potion. Now, damage combo. Patch Infection, put it on the enemy like always. Blockade. You need to reapply this often, most likely, because the enemies move, right? Then, now here the main combo. So Deep Fissure. You can activate this. 1 ability, 2 ability, Deep Fissure. 1 ability, 2 ability, Deep Fissure. I had a lot of issues at the start. You need to keep this up. Basically, use it on cooldown. So, activate Deep Fissure, ability, Deep Fissure. Now, the best thing that could happen is obviously when you have both those dots on the enemy. Use Force Pulse twice, so the Asylum Staff procs if you have an Imperfect Staff 3 times. And at the same time, Deep Fissure should go up, like, off. There's so much burst damage that you get. Will kill off most targets. I explained the combo and how to play with the build on the website, also a little bit in more detail. You can read it there if you want. Now, let's quickly go check out the outfit. Outfit: Thieves Guild Hat, Ebonheart Pauldron, Wormcool Gauntlets, Firedrake Greaves, Apostle Cuirass, Frostcaster Girdle, Dromatra Shoes. Asylum and Black Rose Staff have original designs. Then Julianos white everywhere. Wax Mystic Blue everywhere except on the Apostle Cuirass where we use Abyssal Burial. The skin is the Dromatra skin from Alcast. I do have a skin showcase article on my site where I showcase all the available skins. Want to check it out? Now, if you want to catch me live on Twitch, twitch.tv/AlcastHQ. And we also do have a huge community Discord. If you want to join, you can find both links in the description as well. People Furycraft there, showcase their fashion skills, housing. You can just talk about everything in general. And you'll also get the notification when I go live, and so on and so on. Please make sure to not forget to subscribe and hit that juicy like button if you found the video useful. Thank you very much and have a nice day. Cheers.